What's going on, guys? My name is Austin. I am the founder and CEO of Fly Bodies, a health and wellness company that brings health and wellness services to faculty and staff at schools and then also to companies for their employees. And this is the Bodies and Business podcast, where I'm going to talk about things about the body that can help you improve your life, and then also things about business that hopefully improve your business or things you can take to the business that you work for and implement stuff there. And these aren't like things that are just coming out of my brain. I'm going to actually specifically talk about certain videos I've watched throughout the week that are super helpful for me and that are relevant so that you can implement these things. Some of the videos I've watched before, previously, and they've come up again, and I think they're super helpful. So that's the format, guys. I'm gonna touch on videos in the body department, videos in the business department. And then the third section actually is going to be about random pop culture stuff. We'll talk about that, maybe make some bets and go from there. But so, bodies and business, baby, let's jump into it. So, the first video is Lose Fat with Science Based Tools with Andrew Huberman. And this is something pretty cool. He's gone back and made like 30-minute videos from the 3 hour long videos that he did previously. And these are way more digestible because they're bite sized. And if you listen at 2x speed, it actually goes about 15 minutes. So, how to lose fat. And essentially, what this comes down to, the takeaways that I got from this video are calories in, calories out are just a known scientific biological fact. All right. The amount of calories you in, the amount of calories that you eat versus the amount of calories that you burn is going to directly correlate to you gaining weight, losing weight, or maintaining weight. So right now in our lives, we don't have like an exact calorie counter for the amount of food that we eat and the amount of food that we burn. We have things that can roughly guesstimate those things, but so that can be tough. But if you are focusing on that, I think it's an area where it's going to be fruitful if you focus on it for an extended period of time, 6 months, 8 months, a year, and figure out exactly what your diet needs to be and what your exercise regimen needs to be in order to lose fat. Now, he did give a couple of other things that I thought were helpful. Is one of the things he talked about was shivering or fidgeting. So they did a study where fidgeters, or people who tended to get up and move around a lot, they tended to burn more fat than the people that were non-fidgeters, or just people that just sat there all day and didn't do anything. So if you're a fidgeter, or you like to get up and move around, you're more prone to burn more fat throughout the day. Also, shivering. So he talked about ice baths, or cold therapy, cold water therapy. And this is something where he gave a protocol where it's like you can get into cold water for about 1 to 3 minutes, get out, don't completely dry off or anything, then get back in. And he says this is a great protocol. If you do that like 3 to 4 rounds, it's a great protocol to induce shivering, because shivering actually activates brown fat, and this is going to induce fat burning. So shivering, fidgeting, calories, those are three things. I highly recommend going to watch the video. It's 33 minutes. I'll put it in the show notes. I love saying that. The show notes. And then also, I think I'm going to send this out via email, the old email. And so you'll be able to click on the link for that. The next video I want to talk about is called Diet Hacks and Best Foods for Easy Fat Loss. The theme here is fat loss. But that's with Dr. Mike Israetel. And I can't remember, I think it's Chris Williamson is the other guy. It's not my cousin, Chris Williamson, but Chris Williamson and Dr. Mike Israetel. The question was from Chris was, what are the best food groups that make fat loss easy? And Dr. Mike Israetel actually, he when he answers a question, he goes funny, then he goes serious, then he goes funny, and he tries to keep it like nice and light, but give you some good information. And basically, the one thing that I like that he said is there's no single like one bad food out there. All right. There's like everybody wants to demonize either fats, carbs, or some type of protein. And to be honest, and he said the same thing, was we should not be demonizing any type of macronutrient or single type of food, because that's just a bad way, or it's just not a great way to look at fat loss or just calorie balance in general. What you should do is get to be, or let me reframe what I just said. Um, palatability, and fullness are the things you should be focusing on. And what he means by that, palatable, mean how good something tastes, and then how full is it going to make you feel. So something can be very palatable, but not fill you up. So like I'm going to pick on Pringles. Once you pop the fun don't stop. Somebody could eat a whole thing of Pringles and not feel full afterwards because there's not a lot of fullness in that. But if you eat an entire big baked potato, you will definitely feel more full after you eat that entire big baked potato because of the volume. So that was one of his big things, was palatability and fullness. And we want to have a good balance between the food we eat. We don't want it to taste like dirt, but we also don't want it to taste so good that we can't stop eating it. And we want our food that we're eating is going to make us feel full. So those are the two things that he wanted to focus on. Was you want honestly, the most thing that I focus on in general is fullness, because I hate feeling like I'm hungry. I wrestled for 15 years, 13 years. And when I wrestled and I was trying to make weight, I was hungry. And I was like, I'm never going to go hungry again, or never going to feel hungry again. So I always focus on foods that are going to make me feel full. So potatoes are a really big staple. And he actually talks about how potatoes can make you feel full. And yeah, you need to have like tactical ways of implementing these foods into your diet. I highly recommend going to watch this video. It's only 13 minutes, and it gives you some really good practical advice if you're trying to bodybuild, if you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to gain weight. And he's just a very smart guy. So highly recommend going to watch that video. The next video that I watched was, or not watched, but the next video on the list was cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia. And this was Dr. Peter Attia. And her name's like, oh, I'm missing her name. It's like Lindsay or something, but I didn't put it on my notes. Anyways, this talked about how people can get better sleep through basically sectioning off different parts of your life, especially the bedroom, making the bedroom only a place where you go to sleep and you do one other S word. I'm going to say it because I'm crazy, where you have sex or go to sleep. Okay. If you save the bedroom for those two things, then whenever you get in that environment, then you know those are the only two things that you do when you're in the bedroom. Whereas they did a study where guys were having trouble, or students were having trouble in college studying or doing something where they were making bad grades. So the study actually took these guys and said, hey, you're going to spend, an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours in the library. And when you're in the library, that's the only place you can study. It's the only place. And so they were having a tough time. And they used this scenario or analogy or a research study because it showed that if you basically set something as the only place that you do that thing, then that place is, I can't find the word. Then I couldn't find the word. You associate that place with that particular action. So going to school, you associate going to school with learning, with looking, seeing teachers, seeing your friends, that type of thing. Going to the gym, you obviously associate that with the working out and stuff like that. So something like the bedroom, and if you're having trouble sleeping, you should only associate that place with sleeping. And they said sex because there's a lot of reasons why, but we'll just say sleeping to begin with, if that's the only place if that's what you only want to do. Because if we look at our phones in our bed or watch TV and all these other things, then that place becomes a multifunctional place. And then you don't know why you're not sleeping sometimes. So if you just picture that room and you only do things in that room as sleep and have sex, that's going to help with your sleep potentially over the long term. I thought that video was really good. So I highly recommend and I'm going to highly recommend going to watch all these things. So because I'm talking about them, and that's about it. And then the last thing, then I'll talk about bodies. So we talked about fat loss. We talked about sleep. Those three videos are going to be super helpful for that. And then the last thing I'll talk about is I just started working with a friend of mine, and we haven't implemented anything crazy, nothing crazy. We've had an eating window, started drinking water. Now he is drinking just water for 30 days to basically get rid of like the sugary drinks and, alcohol and stuff. But we haven't implemented anything crazy, and he's lost 11 pounds in 12 days. Okay. Which is unbelievable. I mean, it's incredible because all we're doing is working out, eating in a window, and drinking water. Those three things are having a massive impact on his life and a positive one. That's not to say it's been super easy for him, but it's something where we're just changing up a few things and he's seeing some real results. So if you want, this is a plug for Fly Bodies. If you want to try something new, try something that is sustainable, and it's only been 12 days, but I think it'll be longer after this too. Hit us up. We'll help you out. Anyway, so that was the body side of the house. Now let's go to the business side of the house. So I have a couple videos that I recommend. I'm going to do three. I probably three, and then talk about three topics is probably the best way to do it. But there's so many other things about bodies that we'll talk about over time, but I'm going to do this periodically. I'm going to get you some good information. If you guys have questions about the body, feel free to comment below or email me, and I'm happy to talk about that topic. I love when people ask me certain questions because it gives me a reason to talk about them. And I hate talking, not really. So Howard Marks, the Howard Marks video, he's the co-chairman of Oaktree Capital Management. And this was a Goldman Sachs video. They did an interview with him like 2, maybe 3 years ago. And in the video, and it's funny because the reason why I'm bringing this up is a lot of times people think if I'm doing something and people aren't responding, it's not working, which could be the case. In this scenario, Howard Marks wrote we'll say a blog post about business like every month. And he would send it out to his friends and colleagues and stuff. And he said he would literally mail this to his friends and colleagues. And he said he did it for 10 years. And then in 2008 or 2009, whenever his company Oaktree actually like invested in a lot of companies when the housing market crashed, and he was really successful, he said people started reading his newsletter. And it was funny because the way he talked about it was like, I was writing this newsletter for 10 years and I still had the same thesis and we were still making money and all these things. But people really didn't take notice until we made a big bet on the housing crash or on that particular time frame. And then everybody was like, you're a genius. And what I find to be funny is he did this for 10 years and nobody cared. And then all of a sudden everyone cared once something big happened. And what I'll say is, you know, a lot of times we get in these situations where we think that if nobody's listening to us or nobody's taking the time to like shout us out, what we're doing doesn't matter. But the reality is it does matter to a lot of people. Usually you're just not going to get that feedback. And sometimes it takes a lot longer for somebody or for a society to realize what's going on in order for people to appreciate what you're doing. So I thought I'm going to send that out. I'm gonna keep probably saying that, but I'm gonna send all these links out to watch these videos. And it wasn't super long, but he had some fun stuff to say and things to understand about how technology improves society, and then also how you go in cycles. Like he's like the past really informs you about the future, but it doesn't tell you exactly, right? It rhymes. It's not the exact same, but it rhymes. So I'll send that out. The next video, super short. It was like 15 or 30 seconds. Graham Weaver, one of my idols, I think. He is a teacher at Stanford, and he has so many good insights. He was a rower in college, and just honestly has some just really cool things that I look up to in the sense of business and then also athletics, and how he's trying to be different in the venture capital world, I believe, is really fun. So this video, Graham said, the title of it is "Change Your Life with This Single Exercise to Shift Your Perspective." And this is what he says. He says, write down how old you will be in 5 years. And then think of the future you and write down the things your future you would want to start doing or stop doing, and do those things right now. And this, to be honest, is directly correlated to why I'm making this video, is because a lot of times we put things off because we're like, oh, we'll do it next week, or oh, I'm just super busy. Whereas it's just about prioritizing certain things and saying, I'm going to do it sometimes. And then once you do it, you realize, oh, that wasn't that bad. Or honestly, I the when once you do it once, you're like, that is way easier than I thought it was, and I can continue to do this because I can get better each time, and maybe who knows what's going to happen. And essentially, that's when I looked at myself. I was like, I'm going to be 41. I'm going to be 41 in 5 years. Probably have hopefully maybe some. I'll be married. I'll have some kids maybe. And honestly, I want to look back on the things that I've learned and hopefully helped a lot of people along the way. And this is directly correlated to that. So this is something where Graham actually touched, on something that I've been thinking about. And so this is kind of why I'm doing this video, is because I love bodies in business. I love talking about it. I love learning about it. And so that's why we're doing this video right now. And I'm going to continue to do this once a week for the rest of the year. All right. Promise you. I promise. I don't promise a lot of things, but I promise you this is going to be a once a week thing for the rest of the year. So, and just do that exercise. You don't have to watch the video. You just heard me say it, but think about how old, or write down how old you'll be in 5 years, and then think about the things you want to start and want to stop, and do those things right. Start doing those things right now. The last one that I'll talk about is the Ask Me Anything podcast that My First Million did. The Ask Me Anything podcast. It's not the Ask Me Anything podcast. It's the My First Million podcast, where it's an Ask Me Anything episode. And they had some fun questions to talk about. They actually talk about throughout the whole thing, their producer, I think it's producer, she was called like the modeler. I can't remember. I'm blanking on that. But everybody was like so infatuated by how good she looked. And she was, decent looking girl or lady or woman. But basically, like half the video was people saying, "Man, she's hot." Blah blah blah. But one thing that I actually took from it was a question by somebody in the live, and it was a live episode. They said, "What's one thing that either of you guys has stuck with you?" And Sean, not Sam, but Sean, the one of the guys said, "Hey." He didn't say hey, but he said, one thing that has stuck with me was something my dad told me about trying things, and it's motion, not direction. Okay. That sentence, that phrase has stuck with him. And what that means is a lot of times we want to do something. And a lot of times we get paralysis by analysis because we don't have the exact coordinates of what we want to do. But what Sean is saying in this and what his dad told him was just start moving. Just start trying something. It doesn't have to be huge. You don't have to go work out for an hour, 7 days a week to start getting in shape. Just go for a 15-minute walk. And why this is important is because once you start that motion, it will give you positive or negative feedback to continue in that semi direction that you need to go into. You may be going in the exact opposite direction that you need to go. I don't know why I pointed that way, because you need to go being that way. But if you start going that way and you start learning, oh, this is the wrong direction, let me turn around and like do something else, then you're going to figure out over time that you're going in the wrong direction. And I thought that, and just that simple phrase is so helpful if you want to make progress in a certain area in your life. Motion, not direction. Okay. You're not going to have the exact coordinates, but you can start taking action in some direction that you think is possible, and you'll learn over time. And what happens in business, right, is we come up with these ideas and we're like, oh, like the team's aspect of our Flybody's mileage challenge is going to be incredible. Everybody's going to come on, blah, blah, blah. And until you try it, you don't know for sure, right? You don't know if it actually is something people like. Doing Sean and I'll tell you, not this Sean, but my developer for Flybody's, Sean and I have an idea that using invite codes is going to really help people sign on to a mileage challenge. We won't know that until we actually try something. So like right now, we are getting people to sign up on a Google form, and then we put their information in and we use that to create their account or create the teams, and then we go. Well, we think invite codes are going to help our lives out and help the lives out of the people who want to do these challenges. And so taking action and saying, you know what, let's try this. It's a minimal thing that we can try. Probably take 1 or 2 weeks to do, but let's see if it's going to help us out is way better than going, oh man, like we need to really, really hone in exactly what we want. And this has to work perfectly. And if we don't do it right, then it's a failure. No, we're going to make invite codes. We're going to send them out to people. We're going to see how it works. We're going to get feedback. And that's how you get really good at iterating and creating a product that people like, or that's from what I think, is getting it in their hands, something that works, and then getting it back. Because if it doesn't work, obviously you got to work on it. But when it works, you'll get their feedback. All right. And so those three videos were super helpful this week. Those aren't, game changer crazy ones. I'll have some better ones next week, but those are the three. And then let's talk about some just pop culture and just random stuff, bets. So the NCAA tournament is going on right now. The top four seeds for each region made it to the Final Four: Florida, Houston, Auburn, and Duke. And Houston beat Duke, and Florida beat Auburn. I picked Florida to win it all. I'm not saying I'm a genius. I just said I'm just saying I picked Florida to win it all. Okay, hands up. Anyways, so but what's funny about that is, and I'll give you a little brief. I literally just picked all higher seeds pretty much. Like I think I picked some upsets, but it was like one or two. But essentially, I picked all higher seeds to win. They said this year was the first, like this is the highest percentage of higher seeds winning out of any time they've ever done a bracket, which is pretty cool. I think that probably means like they're using AI to seed these teams, and it's really helping out with the seeding structure. All four one seeds came in to the semifinals. Now it's Florida versus Houston in the final. I've got Florida to win. I hope Florida wins. But what I'll say about Houston is I saw this stat slash Instagram post where all Houston basketball players um, all Houston basketball players run a 5 minute mile on average. Like it's like their slowest one's like 5:46 or something like that, and their fast one's like 5:15. Oh my God, that is incredible if they're all running 5 minute, sub 6 minute miles. And because it goes back to, in my opinion, uh, endurance conquers all. I think that was, I'm probably messing up that quote, but there's a really good book called Endurance. And in that book, the endurance, the captain was like, I can't remember the phrase, but endurance conquers all or something like that. And in business, that actually is true too. But I thought it was really cool. Houston is just so fit that they're beating people. And that's in any sport, you have to be fit enough first to actually do the things you're doing. And then you can really, really do well. And honestly, that's rugby sevens. When I was playing that, it was always my biggest thing was fitness. And then your team can work on the fundamentals if you're fit enough to do them for a 14-minute rugby game in sevens. So NCAA bracket, I have to go with Florida. I might hedge. I might bet on Houston, since if Florida wins, I'll see if I win our bracket pot or whatever. But I hope Florida wins. But I might bet on Houston just to hedge. Tariffs. The current presidential administration is imposing tariffs around the world. I'm not a huge tariff like aficionado. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because it affects everybody. But there's a couple of people that you can see on both sides of the aisle that say they're good or say they're bad. The two people that I'll say that if you want to go look up stuff to is Howard Lutnick and then Anthony Pompliano. Those two people, I've listened to some stuff where they're in favor of the tariffs. These are going to make even Scott Bessent. Some people think tariffs are going to be super helpful for America and help our economy get out of the debt crisis. Other people, like his name is Jeremy Siegel and then Mitt Romney, think that tariffs are really bad. Some economists think tariffs are really bad. They're going to, send us into a recession. These are things that people are having. You know, I honestly kind of look at tariffs as one thing where it's like, if we're using them, it depends on it depends on how they're being used, right? Because um, right now we have a huge debt crisis. So I look at the debt crisis as us overeating and not producing enough energy. So in that regard, the debt crisis is like $36 trillion dollars, and it just keeps growing. We'll just keep getting bigger, as they would say in the body world. But like, so we got to do something to lose that weight. All right. We got to do something. I don't know if tariffs are the right answer, but if that from my perspective is if we're trying to get the debt to go in the right direction, it's just like fly bodies. We're trying to curb obesity and trying to turn obesity go negative. All right, it's right now it's like over 50% for a person to become obese and or overweight or obese in America. So with tariffs, I think they're trying to reduce the amount of debt potentially, but also it could have consequences of recession or the deglobalization of trade. I don't know if that's a word, but we want to play nice, and it could cause a trade war. So um, we'll see what happens. I don't have a huge strong belief on tariffs or non-tariffs because things get more expensive. Tensions are high and stuff like that. But we'll see how it plays out. White Lotus. I don't know if you guys watch White Lotus, but it is a good show. The first two seasons are kind of good. I in this season, I don't know who I like the most or if I dislike the most, but gosh, they are really good at creating drama. I tell you that. White Lotus is fun. I hope there's this one lady who is a massage therapist for the White Lotus hotels, and I don't spoiler alert, she finds out this guy at the White Lotus um is done something bad, and she wants to basically uh out him for that. And I hope that happens. I hope somehow she does nothing bad happens, but like um in the first episode, like it kind of um goes to where the son of this lady is getting a massage or something or doing something like meditative, and then all of a sudden gunshots go off. And so hopefully nothing bad happens to her. I really hope nothing bad happens to her. And I hope the guy she's trying to catch gets something coming to him. Anyways, um, that's all I got. Oh, last thing. I just got back from my reserve duty in New Mexico. I mean, it was between winter and spring. So actually the weather was actually not that bad. It was pretty good. It wasn't super cold. It wasn't super hot. It was like in the 60s and 70s, 50s, 60s and 70s. And it was nice. It was like I was in jail for 2 weeks, staying in a hotel, the Roadrunner Inn. It's not the most, up to date hotel. And I had to eat a lot of eggs, microwaved eggs. Whew. But we got it done. We're back in California. As you can see, this is everybody knows that I'm painting. But yeah, glad to be back. Glad to start this thing on a weekly basis. I'm going to do it because I believe this is super helpful for people. If you have questions and you really want to know like some more information about the body or business, or you have anything, these will get better over time. So just stick with me, and hopefully this was helpful. I hope you guys go watch those videos, and that's all I got. You guys have a great rest of your day, and adios, amigos. Get after it.